Hi and welcome to my channel. It's Rebecca, also known as 4Kids at 147, and today I'm bringing you a scrapbooking layout. We've recently, if I can get my words out, had International Scrapbooking Day. So I did manage to spend the whole day scrapbooking, and I created a few layouts one day, and then on the second day, well, in fact I spent the whole weekend. On the second day I did end up doing some traveller's notebook spreads. So this is the challenge that I started with. So what I decided to do this time was there's quite a few different Facebook forums doing scrapbooking day challenges, but I decided this time to take part in the Citrus Twist fan page, so you can go over there and have a look at all the sorts of challenges that they had up. Now, due to the time difference, even though I did scrapbook over 2 days, I think they ran the event over 3, so in effect I got the Friday and Saturdays, and I did them on Saturday and Sunday. But this one was a sketch challenge. You can also see the sketch on that group as well, but I decided for this one to use a Cocoa Vanilla collection, and this one is Free Spirit. I just had to look up the name, and I've had this since it came out, I think, or shortly after, and this is the first time that I've used it, so it was good to get it used. So what I've done is I'm working on a black cardstock. I think it's a basil one, though I'm not sure. It does sort of have a texture of lines sort of down the middle, a bit like corrugated card. And what I've done is I've just torn off one edge, and underneath that I've put one of the papers, and then stuck that down, and then just trimmed off the back. So I'm still working on a true 12 by 12. I do just have an edging strip down the side. And then I pulled a couple of frames from the die cut pack for layers, and then I'm sort of working on what other sort of papers I want to bring in as layers around the photo. So the sketch has a little cluster in the bottom corner, and then it mainly has a section over to the right. The title is across the top, however I did move that to around the bottom. But I quite like sketches quite often just for sort of a starting point. Once I've got a starting point, I can pretty much then get going. I do love layering pieces of paper and stuff underneath. I find it easier when I have already started to use a collection, and that's just because I go by the sizes that are already there. So all the offcuts and bits that I've got, I tend to just use those and then see where it takes me. But because I hadn't used this paper collection yet, I was sort of starting from scratch, so a sketch helped me on that front. So for my title, I did think about pulling in these foam stickers that do come in the kit, but you will see I'll end up changing that. But what I'm now doing is just working on paper layers and seeing where I can sort of tuck stuff in and getting my basic design. I do like to do this before I end up sticking things down. It does get to a point though where I'm like, okay, this sort of rough layout is going to work, and then I need to get it stuck. Otherwise, every time I move the layout, I end up moving stuff. So I've got quite a big layer at the back, and that's a nice black and white stripe. I find that helps the black and white photo to pop and just gives a little bit of difference against the black background. I've then got the 2 frames. I've got a nice plain white text print, and then I've got more of a florally print. And then the paper that I did use on the left hand side, I have brought a strip of that in as well, just to help all those colours merge together. And then this is where I decided to bring in a different title. So I've brought in the word darling. I think that is from some One Canoe 2 stickers, if I remember rightly. I have quite a few different big word stickers, and I do feel as though I need to actually start using those. I've used the die cuts to pull in a banner across the bottom. I've never really been a banner fan. However, I have found I've used some recently, just to help bring in those touch of colours. If I can find somewhere to make it look as though it's sitting, then I quite enjoy using those. And then on the left hand side of the bottom cluster, I've just brought in a little XO ticket, and I'm going to pop on a couple of other little die cuts on there to make that work. Firstly, I'm going to try and make this blue butterfly work. I ended up popping out all the bits and I couldn't get it to work how I wanted. So what I did instead was I fussy cut round these butterflies that were in the die cut pack, though they did have a white border. So I fussy cut round those instead and sort of brought in that little pop of blue by using that butterfly. Now, as far as I remember now, I don't make you sit through me cutting the others out. Yes, I don't. That's good. I did turn off the camera just while I fussy cut the rest of those out so that you didn't have to watch it. And I've cut 3 of those, and then I did decide to go round the edges of my papers and quite a lot of the die cuts. Partly because I fussy cut the butterflies, it hides a multitude of sins if you've not cut things right. But I did also find, because I was working on a black background, it did sort of help the papers all have that little grey black element. So I'm using a distress ink, which I love for inking edges, and I'm just using, I think it's called smoked grey, this one. So it's quite a darkish grey. Took me a little bit to go around the frames because I had already stuck those down, but the rest of the layers hadn't yet been stuck, so they were a little bit easier. So I'm going to pull all of those up, give them an ink at the edges, and I'm going to start sticking things back down at this point. I did need to make sure I got that back one straight, even though the rest are sort of going to be on an angle. I did want the big black one and again that strip to be straight, and then the rest are going to be slightly off angle, and get those all placed down. And then my little cluster at the bottom had sort of stuck to my wording, so I just glued that down as one piece. I've got a die cut flower arrangement and that banner, and of course with my title, and then I'm going to pop in a little die cut that says "Love This." I've also pulled out some little photo corners. I thought they looked quite cute. They were in sort of a wood grain, and I've popped those on the corners. And then I'm going to have one of the butterflies hanging off the page, just because the sort of page does hang off the other side, even though it's straight, with me having those flowers, the flower paper. And the flower paper does also look as though it has gold glitter in it, even though it doesn't really have glitter. So I felt that helped the title sort of come in with those, was the fact that there's sort of gold elements on the page. I'm going to pull in a navy heart over on the left, just so I've got a little pop of navy going across the page. And then to help the title settle in a little bit more, I am going to bring in a couple of gold stars, and they're just going to be in 3 different places, so I've sort of got a visual triangle of the gold. Pop a little die cut up the top that says "Noted," and then I will add in a label just in those top layers, and I will use that to write the date on. And then lastly, I did feel as though I needed to bring in something with a little bit of white, a little bit of white and black, so I pulled out my Tim Holtz little word strips and added "Make Today Count" underneath the title. And that's pretty much everything that ends up on the page. So I do look at adding some more of the word stickers in, but I did find it was becoming a little bit too clustered, a little bit too much, so I did decide to ditch that idea. This is where I'm going to test out a few different labels until I do end up pulling one out of a past citrus twist kit, so that I can pop my date on the page, which I will pop on after I've done this. And that's pretty much the spread. So if you want to have a look at the sketch, please head over to the Facebook page and you'll be able to see all of the challenges and the videos. I'll have videos coming up for them all. But thank you so much for watching. If you've liked this video, please give it a like, and if you want to see more, please hit subscribe. I've got a few more scrappy videos coming up, and then I've got some traveller's notebook ones as well, so there's quite a bit of variety coming about on the channel. So thanks again, and I'll speak to you all again soon.